Okay, the ball's yours.
Okay, thanks, Russ. Okay, so call to order. It is 7:34 p.m. Not sure if people have had a chance to look at the minutes from our previous meeting.
I did not see them from the last meeting. Did folks receive them from the earlier May meeting?
Yep. I thought he sent them on.
I thought he sent them too.
Also, I'm getting my meetings screwed up.
We sent them on May 4th.
Thank you.
Right, but we had a meeting on the 12th, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so
Did I get one?
I don't have anything after that from what I can see from Matt.
Yeah, I don't have any.
All right, it is the. Oh, it's Pete's. It's Pete's on. Yeah. It's Pete's. Wow. Okay, so we have no minutes. That makes it easy. So if he's listening, listen to after this call, and send us the minutes. All right. So, we'll be considering minutes for the last meeting. Public input. That would be you, Debbie.
Well, will we wait until, because we're going to have, we have a item.
Okay, she's on the new business.
Yeah.
Done new business, yeah.
Okay. All right. Then I guess the next item on the agenda is facility and field requests. Okay. I'll call on to Debbie as well. So let's just move right ahead to Debbie. And new business, and we'll discuss the boot camp at Darrell.
Okay.
So you sent an email back, I think, on the 19th of May requesting to get back out onto Darrell.
Yes.
Where you've been having your boot camp.
The last 7 years. Yep.
Yep. Okay, so I'm not sure. In Andy's email, it sounded like he thought this was a new request, and I know.
I think Andy has known that I've been there for years. I think that he didn't realize that I'd asked permission. He wasn't at the meeting 7 years ago when I went through the process and got voted in.
Yeah.
So I think he just didn't realize that I had gone through the proper channel.
That's fine. And you had, and I've been there. I've been on the board this long, and I was one of the people, and I know John Bryant was the chair at the time.
Yes, he was.
I sent the guys an email saying that this was approved ago, and it was approved by those of us that were on the board at the time. We have been doing it. I don't know if this is to be discussed in that context, because I believe her request was actually to go back out and resume her activities that she has done. So this has been approved by the board several years ago. There's been no issues since day one till day. So I don't know. Maybe Steve Weber, since you're with the selectmen, I don't know if this needs additional discussion, but as a board and being for a time, I was there to approve it.
Well, per the email I sent this week, and I mean, the only ordinance that's out there right now is one of the emergency ordinances that says no gathering of 10 or more people. And that, I believe, is due to expire on May 31st.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, the Board of Selectmen never closed the fields. The only thing we did was close talent and all the play structures because we couldn't sanitize them.
Okay.
So that was the only reason. So based on that, I mean, I believe as long as you've done it for the past 5 to 7 years, you have an insurance certificate on file with the town, I don't see any reason from a Board of Selectmen standpoint why she wouldn't be able to continue keeping the spacing, keeping all the requirements that fall under the ordinance that they came out with health club group activities.
Okay.
I agree.
Same.
It seems to make sense.
Yep, agreed.
So from my standpoint as a new member, some of the notable concerns, obviously, number one is making sure she's in accordance with the health guidelines set by the governor, and which she has said she has, less than 10 people, 8 to 10 feet apart. No equipment will be shared. Personal mats will be used. Masks should be worn when they're not exercising, etc. My second concern is the approval process. We understand that she was approved 5 to 7 years ago, but we have, as a new board, we don't have any current information. So I would assume every year she should address the board, just like all the other committees do, come before us, request a field approval, make sure her insurance is up to date, et cetera, et cetera. That way, the current board is understanding what's going on. We can make sure that the fields are available. And it just kind of closes the loop. So everybody on the board understands that, yes, every year she comes back. Right now we're going under a grandfather clause that she was approved 7 years ago. So that's one concern. The other concern is the profit in utilizing Litchfield's resources. So this is a for-profit, and she's utilizing Litchfield resources. Yes, it's really limited resources. It's just a field. So I guess technically this falls under Article 8, Section 2, which is use of recreational facilities by others and groups and organizations that have some ties to Litchfield community. Proof of insurance by the organization making the request will be required. The town of Litchfield will be listed as the additional insured on these policies, et cetera. So my thing is, A, is that allowed? How do we prevent, or how do we handle other groups coming to us requesting for the same permission? And then the ongoing yearly approval so that we're all in a closed loop.
We had a young man from Campbell do a very similar thing that Deb was doing. He did it down in Sawmill, where he provided a food camp service where residents paid him. So we may want to revisit that, but we have had other individuals do the same thing as Debbie. With regards to you saying that organizations come regularly and request access, that's not, we do require insurance, and I believe we're trying to do that on a yearly basis, and I think Mike Bosky is sending those requests out for insurance binders. But we don't necessarily have every organization come, like Litchfield Girls Softball does not come and request field usage. It's the season, they use the fields. I think the same thing stands for soccer and down at Sawmill. I'm not sure if it's just soccer down there or if lacrosse goes down, but we don't necessarily have organizations coming and requesting field time. The season comes and they assume it's their season, they're using it. Even I think basketball, they just have to schedule it because it's an indoor activity. I mean, we can discuss that further, but we don't have organizations coming up all the time and asking for field.
The only thing I see in the bylaws is that there's a hierarchy. So if Debbie wanted to use it the exact same time that Litchfield softball wanted to use it, then it'd be a problem. But I don't think that's the case.
Debbie's always up to the side, yeah.
The way that I've done things for 7 years, I actually have a full-time job now, a regular job during the day, but so I'm only there now twice a week. But how I used to go there all the time. I did stroller fitness classes for moms that were expecting and had a baby. I did all kinds of classes, and the way that I would do it is if people were using the fields, I would go into the woods. I never went inside, and I only need a small grassy knoll. I could do it anywhere. So I could do it by the pond. So I have made sure that I've accommodated everyone. If I see kids playing basketball, I stay far away from the courts. I just kind of can go wherever. Whereas it's outdoor fitness. And as for 8 to 10 feet away, that's actually for indoor gyms. What I plan on doing is having everyone have an orange cone, and that's their space 6 to 8 feet apart. I don't believe that they need to wear masks while they're working out. It's not healthy to have a mask. And my workout is very intense. And if you have a mask on, you could be at risk to pass out. which is dangerous. So I do plan on everyone bringing their own dumbbells, which is not something I usually provide the dumbbells. This is new. Everyone's going to bring their own yoga mat. Everyone brings their own water, and there will be space. So I think it's going to be absolutely safe, and it's good for people to get back into fitness.
I should say I'm in support of this. I'm not opposed about this at all. I'm just, as a new member, I'm trying to make sure we have a closed loop when we understand who's using the field and for what, and make sure they have insurance. And then I trust that you're going to do the right thing according to the law, so that, I mean, the last thing you want to do is get yourself in trouble as well. But for an example, we had someone down there last week doing the same thing you were doing, and he wasn't even from in town.
Well,
So then it kind of got me thinking, you know, he's not supposed to be here. You are a Litchfield resident, and your primarily your group of people are from Litchfield. You may have one or two from Hudson, whatever, but your services are typically tended towards Litchfield residents. It's just, I just want to make sure that we close the loop so that we know what's going on, who's using it, and they have permission to do so.
right. And that man, I believe, is just there probably because his park is closed, because Massachusetts is pretty shut down right now. I went there the other day, McDonald's is closed.
Right.
So my guess is he either knows people here, or he's bringing clients up here because he knows he's probably seen my Facebook page is a public page, and I do pay to advertise it. And it's possible that he might have seen that, oh, you can run a boot camp there, and he's gone there. But he hasn't gone through any of the proper channels that I have. And that's why I actually could kick myself for asking for permission to get back, because I feel like I stirred this whole thing up when I haven't had a problem for 7 years. So, but
honestly, like I said, as a new member, I knew you were doing it, but I didn't know what protocols and permissions were already granted, and we just can't assume. So that, as I was saying, I think every year maybe we need to make the changes where each group comes before the board and says, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing this, and here's our insurance, etc. Just so that we know who is in the field and who's using it. I was down there with Corporal Gott when he was talking with the man, and, you know, it got me thinking, like, I know that you use it, but I didn't know who gave you permission and et cetera, et cetera. And as a board member, that's something I feel I should know. But it was just something that, you know, as we've come to find out, it was granted 5 years ago.
yeah. I mean, I've been in touch with some board members because I mean, I have a code to get into the door. So I'm very well in communication with some of the board members. Just if I see something happening, I reach out. I see a lot of things down there that happen. It shouldn't be happening. And I am in communication. I mean, I don't know how it works for you guys once something's approved, of how you guys keep track of what's approved and not.
That's more of an on our end than something that you need to worry about, though. I mean, I think for this discussion, I mean, I don't see anybody having a problem with it getting started again.
Great.
You know, I think we need to discuss some paperwork items on our end, though.
And by the way, about profit, this is a part-time gig for me, and it is definitely not big. It's not a big money maker. In fact, I've dreamed about stopping doing this for a couple of years, but because the members, the town residents that come, I can't stop because they're awesome and I love training them and they want me to keep going. So every year I'm like, I'm going to stop because it's too much with my family and my work, my job, but I can't stop because of that. So it's not a huge money maker. I'm not doing it to make tons of money. I started doing it because I have 4 kids, and it was a way for me. I started 10 years ago to make money while I was raising children, but I'm certainly not in it for the profit.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you're not making a lot of profit off it, but under the terms, it is for profit. You know, it could be $2, it could be $2 million, but it is in terms, it is for profit.
Yep.
Opposed to like Litchfield softball or baseball, et cetera, they do make money, but with fundraisers, et cetera, but the board is responsible and accountable for those funds. I'm just trying to make sure that we, you know, like I said, that we have everything in order so that we know who's using it and that, you know, we have proof that your insurance is up to date and that we know that you're down there, really.
And my insurance is, but I will make sure I drop off a binder. Do you want me to drop it off to the town hall like I did in the past?
Yeah, can you do that, Debbie, and just put it under the rec commission? We have a mailbox.
Okay.
And Steve, you're right. I mean, we should discuss it. There's obviously new members. This was 7 years ago. we should probably document this better on our part as who's doing what, and then reach out. I think, Mike, you do reach out and get request binders from folks, so we should probably add Debbie to the list and anyone.
Yeah, usually it was it was all the youth organizations. I hadn't really been doing I hadn't really even thought of, requesting it from Debbie every year. But yeah, she should be added to that list.
So that's we need to correct that on our end and start documenting things better.
And
So-
you definitely have received a lot of support from the town, Deb. We've seen, I think, 12 or 14 emails.
That I that's awesome. I was trying to keep it on the down low, like, hey guys, we might need a little help. But that's awesome. And I, like I said, I have great clients. The people in town have been so supportive over the years. Even people that don't come anymore, they still will pop in. I have it's a small group, probably like 10 to 18 people, but I have some people that came 5 years ago and they still come in the summertime, or they'll stop for 2 years and then come again. So if it's okay, then am I okay to proceed? I mean, as early as, what day's today? Tuesday? Thursday? Or is that too fast?
Is it the 31st, Steve, or do we have to wait?
I don't think we need to wait at all, as long as it's kept, including yourself, to under 10 people
I can do that.
immediately.
So that's until May 31st. Can I go along with the guidelines if the governor says, it can be more than 10 people? Do I need to talk to you guys first before I mean, it might not happen.
My point was, I don't think he had a guideline when it came to organized groups for gyms. So I think once this one expires under 10 on the 31st, I would say you default into what they're saying about health clubs with group activities.
Okay.
Unless he comes out and says, public groups can't be more than 15 people or whatever the number is.
Okay.
So we don't know what he's going to say on the 31st.
Just try to minimize risk for people. That's,
I will. And you know what? In the past, boot camp was very much touching things, touching the same pavement and areas. And we're changing all of that now. And because we've done Zoom boot camps, I'm doing that inside people's homes. Everyone has their own equipment, and we've gotten used to being in your own space and just changing the dynamic of the workout. And it's worked out well so far. So that means I can start on Thursday, and you guys are giving me permission. And that's it, right?
Yep. If you can just get us your binder.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, perfect. I'll drop off a binder this week before Thursday.
The last thing I would ask is, if you open the gate, when you close it, make sure it's closed so other people cannot drive vehicles in there. Lately, that gate's been being opened, and
I always
that gentleman
do
we
close
spoke of
it.
earlier drove his truck down there.
I always do
Perfect.
close it, and Mike knows that I am very good at that. I have to say, though, I don't think everyone else is good at it. I find it open all the time.
all the time.
So one more question. What was I going to say? So am I good, or do I need to stay for the rest of this meeting?
You definitely don't have to stay for the rest of this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you for getting it over with in the beginning. And guys, I really appreciate it. I had one of my clients tell me she was crying at the thought of it ending. Because some people don't want to go to a gym, they just want to be comfortable and just be with their friends and not feel intimidated. And for some reason, I don't know why, but boot camp is not intimidating to them. I don't get it. I get a lot of people that aren't like super buff and like just normal people that just want to get a good workout in and go home. So, all right. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie.
Take care.
Debbie.
All
Debbie.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Do we want to discuss this further? Should we add this to another agenda that we want to start gathering, documenting this stuff better on our part?
Yeah, I
think we should.
think that we would need to get some sort of a guideline as to when groups, not necessarily like town rec leagues, but like if an outside group such as that would want to use it every year, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea just to have them come in before and just give us a heads up. Even if it's not a vote, just like, hey, we're going to be out there using the fields. Like, is that all right? Just a thought.
Yeah, I'm coming in as a new member, so I'm just looking at it with new open eyes. And my concern was, I've known she's been using the field. Who gave her permission? I knew she had access to the gate, so she has engaged. But what else? You know, does she have permission? You can't just be simply grandfathered in because things change. That's why I was suggesting maybe every year they come in front of us and say, "I'm going to run boot camp again. Here's my insurance, and this is my intention."
And that's good. No, that's a great idea because you're right. Board members do change. I think we just have to. I think we're trying to get better as an organization by keeping track of this. Mike, I'm not sure you have a certain time of year that you reach out to individuals for the insurance binders.
I mean, usually most of them are at the beginning of the year. You know, between every sport's on a different schedule. Like football, flags, softball, baseball, lacrosse are all, you know, that February. I ask them. Soccer's in August. Basketballs, and usually I'll ask in the August timeframe, just to give them the heads up, because I can't remember off the top of my head if there's runs. I think there's runs from October through September normally. So they're all staggered depending on when their season really starts and ends.
Right. I mean, so it would fall on us to keep track of it, reach out, make sure we're contacting everyone that we're aware of, to remind them to come in front of us and bring their binders. And I mean, but it would fall. We have to be responsible for it. We want it to happen.
And I think the only two things they need for a youth group is you need an insurance binder, and you have to be registered for the New Hampshire, youth camps, I believe it is.
Right.
Are the two things that you have to have. And the second youth camp basically just says you have a background check policy in place.
Right.
Correct.
So we're doing it. We're just not doing it as expansive as probably we should. So, and probably as regularly as we should. But we do get the background checks or the camp thing information. We do get the binders. Obviously, ones like Debbie have slipped through the cracks. Just have to probably get better on that. All right. Any further discussion on that topic? Okay.
Nope.
The next one, thanks for adding this. Matt was just wondering, so it's the minutes fee. Doing it in a couple of years, and he's doing minutes now for the selectmen, and he's being paid for it. He was wondering if he could be paid for the minutes he's been doing for us. So I don't know what people's thoughts are. How do we go about it? I know in the beginning they had said there's some sort of line item maybe for minutes takers. I don't know.
So, I think first of all, Matthew's he's done a wonderful job. So those are just fantastic minutes that he provides. So he's been a great service for us for a while now. So it's really appreciated. So I certainly would like to consider it for probably next year's budget and to include it in that request. I think we're still under the spending freeze at the moment, so I don't think the timing would be right right now. But I do think it'd be appropriate to come back to it in the context of next year's budget.
I don't know. I mean, is there any wiggle room in this to pay somebody for their service? I mean, if he's providing a service, he's been doing it for a couple of years now. Is there, as opposed to waiting another 6 months?
Right. I mean, Andy's really the one. I mean, we'd have to pour over the budget line by line to see. I mean, there's probably something in that budget, either misc fees or something else, where we might be able to pull it from. I mean, even when I remember when we first were looking for minutes taker, we had talked about hiring whoever the selectmen were using at the time. And I don't know if we had decided that we'd go along the route we're going along. I don't know if Matt stepped up and volunteered and therefore we just went that route. But I know at one point we had discussed possibly paying someone to take our minutes because I mean, we were basically under orders to start taking minutes because
Right.
the committee hadn't taken minutes in a while.
I'll be honest, I didn't realize he wasn't getting paid for it.
Yeah.
I honestly thought he was. But
He did it. He did it. He started. He liked it, and I think he was just he was doing me a favor, I guess, being my sister, and he was like, "I'll just do it, Colin," and then it just kind of morphed into. I think Kurt was like, "Hey, we got a minutes taker on the rec commission. He'd be great for the selectmen," and then before he reached out to him, long story short, he started doing the minutes for them, and he's like, "Oh, I'm getting paid for this," and he's like, "I'll continue." And he's like, "Well, maybe you guys we could pay him for it." So.
Yeah, we lost our minute taker, and then Kurt saw the great job that Matt was doing on rec, and he's the one that asked Matt, with you, Colleen, do you want to do the selectmen? And he's been doing a fantastic job. I'm just looking quickly here at the budget, and I don't see within the rec budget that for this year any monies were allocated for minutes, but even a line item that would fall under. But I mean, there may be money somewhere else in the budget if we chose to.
Yeah,
I mean, if we can find the money in the budget, I think we do it. I think it's a no-brainer.
Because I'm sure we're saving monies right now from a custodian standpoint, being with talent closed.
true.
So are we not still under a spending freeze or emergency spending only?
Well, we're not.
It's not essential. I mean, and taking minutes are essential. So you can make a case probably either way on that.
Yeah.
I don't think we're talking about a large sum of money either.
Right. I don't know if it needs to be voted on by a full, or if it needs to be. Do we need to go in, look at the line items, see if there's some budget for it, then vote on it? I don't know what the process is.
My personal opinion, if he knows the budget best, we probably should wait for Andy and have him weigh in on where we fall within the budget.
Sorry, I'm not sure. I have background noise. You said check with Andy where it falls within the budget?
That's what I would do. I mean, since he knows the budget the best and helps pull it together every year, he might be the one to ask and say, hey, where are the monies we could use in order to go do this? It sounds like the majority of the board agrees, that we'd like to compensate Matt for his work, for his efforts.
Okay, so we can add it to, I guess, maybe the next
Yep.
the next meeting. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. It's just we have to figure out how, and then make sure next year we add it as a line item so that it continues to get paid.
Right. Sounds good. Okay, thank you, guys. Next on the list is old business and tennis courts.
Yes, this is just a point of clarification. I thought when we talked about this a couple weeks ago, we landed that doubles play was okay. We went back and forth at the end of that discussion. I thought we landed on doubles being okay because the basketball courts are open, foursome of golf is okay. So it seemed kind of in that vein, but I know what went out was singles only. So do folks have a clearer recollection than I do of how we landed on that?
I don't. I thought it was singles.
Yeah, I thought it was singles too.
Yeah,
Then we had a huge discussion about how pickleball was played.
yeah, and then when it comes to families of people of the same household. But I thought the bottom line was if you're not from the same household, it could only be single play.
So Pete, you said, what is basketball doing? Are we allowing, are we allowing people on a basketball court? We are?
They're certainly down there, yeah, in groups of 5, 6 or more.
I mean, it's 10 people now, right? Is that what we're hearing, that groups of 10 or more, but separated by ample space?
10 or less.
10 or
I don't think we had more than 10, but yeah.
10 or less separated by ample space. I mean,
Yeah, it's gonna have to do. Basketball is a contact sport. And
Yeah,
it
if I
really
was
isn't.
correctly talking to the emergency. Sorry, Steve, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was just gonna say, I remember speaking with the emergency management team. They were all singles only, and I don't think anybody ever discussed opening the basketball courts. Because then, if you go back and you look at recently what the governor said, it was minimum contact sports, and that was pretty much what softball, baseball, tennis. There was a couple other more that he put in there, and I don't believe soccer was one of them or basketball, just because of the contact.
Yeah, I don't think
Our
the
understanding
go ahead,
with
Steve.
basketball is the courts were closed. However, we were not going to enforce it to the point where if a family is out there, a dad with his kids, they were allowed to do it because they were from the same household. But we weren't going to go to the point of zip tying the nets closed. But the courts are officially are not open to, team play or gathering of people playing.
That's how I remembered it too, Steve. Because it came down to the conversation about the reason we didn't close all the fields is what happens if a family of 6 or 7 wanted to go down there and just hang out and play. Because at one time, there was no groups bigger than 5.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
organized
I think
sport is what it
if
was.
you've seen people down at the court like doing that, it's on their own. It's not like we've approved it, and we can't necessarily police it all the time either.
So Peter, were you just looking for us to change the sign at the tennis courts?
Well, first I was just confused, but secondly, I mean, I'm fine with it being doubles play at the tennis courts. I think that's on par with other, guidance right now. And I think there are families that would want to play that. So I don't have a problem with making it doubles. But I do have a question about pickleball. So Steve Weber, you were saying that I recall there was something with pickleball players going down there. Would that, open the door to too many other people coming down to play pickleball if we move to doubles?
No, we were discussing last time, I think, how pickleball played. Maybe it was the emergency management team and it was doubles and so forth, and they were not fans of having doubles on the court at the time. But, as these new guidelines have come out with group activities, I can bring it up with the emergency management team tomorrow on our normal 2:00 call on Wednesdays, and kind of get them to weigh in on where they feel we should be at this point.
Okay. That sounds good.
So I'll get with them and I'll shoot everybody a note after the meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. The next, obviously, item is other. The only thing I wanted to bring up, I'm not sure, I saw a person reached out to us regarding the, what is it called? The ropes course. Did you guys see that?
I did see that. Yeah,
I'm trying to find it now.
they were asking who controls it. And
Right.
Was that the high school?
The name didn't look familiar. I'm trying to find it now. Of course, I can't find it.
I don't think that fell under Recreation Commission, did it? The putting the ropes course up and stuff. It was before my time, so I don't really.
The ropes course does fall under us.
Oh,
And again, it's another one that we really don't. There was a gentleman from the high school that has always run it. And once again, we've never really, on occasion, he's come and asked if he can use it on a certain, like on a Sunday. I think the school might have access to it as well, but it's not something that and Andy would know a lot more about the ropes course than, there it is, than I do.
May 25th.
Yeah, thank you. So Bruce Overton. So he's a resident, and he was just, I guess, looks like a great amount of work and effort has gone into it, and he wants to be able to participate in its use.
My only concern with that ropes course, I've been in town, I've lived here for 3 years now, and I've never seen anybody on it. And I was just curious, does it ever get inspected, or like, it seems like something could snap on that easily, if it's not checked regularly.
I believe it was inspected maybe even a year ago.
Oh, okay.
Mike, do you remember? I know we've discussed it because I know the high school, there were two gentlemen that came, and actually it was, I think it was the former AD.
Coach K.
Coach K, thank you, that uses it. So Coach K with another gentleman, they came, they spoke to us. I can't remember what they needed it for, but I want to say it was even inspected.
So Colleen, it was Ryan Chase from Element Adventures.
Thank you. Okay.
He was the one running it with him, and he was the one running it with Coach K.
Yep.
And they were the ones who, went through the course, made sure it was good in condition and everything. They did. I'm just looking at the original email they sent. I think they came in the June meeting last year.
Okay.
So I think if we go back and look at the June minutes, we could probably get a better update in terms of what they were doing exactly. Because I remember they did come in and they did talk. And it was right after, they was right after John passed, because John had a lot to do with the communication about the ropes course being relatively close to Coach K. So I remember that they did come in and they presented a whole thing about what they needed to fix and what they were going to use it for and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly that's who uses it. Like through them, the school would use it at times, but no one else really uses it.
Right.
Probably because no one else is supervising it. It can't really be used when it's not being supervised.
Right. Right. So his request, his question about who was able to participate in its use. I mean.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
They'd have to go through, that company or whatever they are, I would think. Just to get all the gear. Like, we don't have that gear.
No, we don't.
Stashed away. And
I can reply back to him and say, we don't, technically it falls under us. We don't have anyone, as Mike said, to oversee it necessarily. There's no one that stands up there and says, okay, I'm going to hold a class. We don't have anyone that can do that. Now, I'm not sure if he's looking to just use it himself, or I can reach out to him and get more information and see what he's looking to do with it.
And then maybe we could do a little research on what are the proper channels. So,
right,
because it seems to come up from time to time, and maybe if there's some interest, we could get it, like an advertised event here and there. Well, after all the COVID stuff is over, but.
Right, and I can see what his intentions are. If he's looking to maybe he's looking to use it with a bunch of people. So I'll reach out to him and see, get some more information from him, and then we can figure out from there.
I just re-forwarded the last email, the last conversation we had with them.
Okay,
everyone,
cool.
So everyone can see what the last thing was.
Thank you.
Great.
But yes, it does get used probably 1 or 2 times a year, I'm guessing. And I think it's predominantly by Coach K. So, okay, let's see. Is there anything else? Any other emails? We do know that youth sports certain sports are opening back up. They're resuming practices, they're resuming activity I know for softball, they have certain Babe Ruth guidelines that they adhere to, number of kids, masks, all the guidelines there. I'm not sure with baseball, Steve, what,
Yeah, we have the same slide deck that came from Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken and Babe Ruth are pretty much lockstep.
yep,
We're going to have a board meeting this week to see if how we're going to proceed this year, if it's feasible under all the guidelines and restrictions that they put in. And being part of softball now also, I know there's going to be another meeting concerning softball sometime this week also.
okay. Mike, what about soccer?
Soccer spring season has been canceled. Lacrosse spring season was canceled. So there isn't anything. There's there's still discussions in the soccer board as to whether they're actually going to be tryouts and not tryouts. Like physically on the field tryouts even for next fall, and when those might be. But the first half of the month is out, so there's nothing impending on either of those fronts.
What about, there was the fire department, they were doing a 5K, that's canceled now? as
They
well?
moved it to October, I believe.
October.
Yes, it's in October.
Okay, all right. So there's really nothing happening down at Sawmill at all?
Right. You know what I mean? Except there has been, from what I've heard, there's been a lot of gatherings in that parking lot, and lots of trash left behind at times, I guess. So someone had said that to me just the other day. And I don't know how to, I didn't know how to respond to him at the time. Like, we aren't patrolling who's sitting in a parking lot or whatever. And in terms of the question, the next question was, can someone put a trash barrel up there? And I'm like, I don't know about that either. So, we're not, if you put a trash barrel, then now you're encouraging people to actually gather somewhere. So it's like, which way do you go?
All right. Yeah, I think we're trying to get away from the trash cans, right? It's pretty much carry in, carry out. Now, you can't, if they go there and litter, I don't know what we do.
Right. The only trash can, the trash cans at Sawmill would be still being picked up by the transfer station at one point, but I don't know if that changed. I can't remember if that changed last year or not.
I think the road agent's picking them up now because
Okay.
he has a town vehicle. When solid waste was doing it, he was doing it in his personal vehicle, and there was
Okay.
a liability portion to that. So, what I could do is I could reach out to LPD and just ask him to do a few more swing through Sawmill at different times throughout the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that top, it's like that top corner, you know what I mean? It's like, from what I got, it's that when you first pull in, when you first get around that when you first get by the tennis courts, if it's on the right side there, which is, tucked away and out of sight from almost all angles, is where there's been a few more gatherings.
I saw it when I was actually putting up the signs for the tennis court, and I really didn't think much of it. I just thought it was kids just talking. I didn't bust it up or anything, but I didn't see them throwing any trash or anything like that. But
yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? That's what someone had told me. I haven't been by there recently, so. But it does get. It's kids talking, but from what I understand, it's a pretty regular occurrence for kids to be in there with cars talking. So.
Okay. So I guess, Steve, if you can next the police to do a couple drive-bys, maybe more.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Chief Sergeant and Captain Scotty and just ask them to do a couple more loop-throughs.
Okay. The other one, so the playgrounds are not open, right? Those are still closed because we have no way to sanitize them?
Correct.
no playgrounds.
Playgrounds are okay. I don't know if there's any other items to cover. I guess the only other question I had, the next meeting falls into the start of summer, technically. We're already in summer now, I guess. Typically in the past, I know for the new board members, we've gone down to 1 meeting a month. I think to do that June and July, and maybe resume 2 again in August because we start getting usage requests and stuff like that for the facility. I'm not sure. Do we want to resume that? Go to 1 one meeting a month for June and July? Do we want to continue meeting twice a month because of COVID? How do we want to proceed?
I think we should continue with 2 a month just because things are going to change. I mean, we could go 1 a month, and if we need to, we could have an emergency meeting. But I think with all this COVID stuff, as things start unraveling and they start opening things up, we want to be responsive as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Leave them on the books. If they're quick, all the better, but otherwise, let's keep them scheduled.
Yeah, and we have enough members this time, so even if people are on vacation, we should have enough for a quorum for things, which is nice.
I don't think we haven't had that since I've been on the board. I don't think we've had one every time.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussions, guys? No? Okay.
Nothing else from me.
Then
I would like to make a motion to adjourn then.
That's awesome. Perfect. I'll second. All in favor of adjourning?
All right.
Aye.
Shannon, okay? We good? All right. Wait,
Take care.
Have a good evening.
0-0? Okay.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Thanks, Mary.
Bye.
So long.